Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everyone. I know this is rhetorical, but I'm going to say it because we're going to help you move your life forward. But life is full of challenges. Things will be going great, and then something will pop up, present itself, and you got to move forward and through it. It's full of setbacks. How do you come back from that? We're going to talk with a gentleman that has coached many people over many years, many organizations. He works with executives, individuals, business owners, team leaders, all of that. And he's taken these principles and put them in different playbooks. Call it the sports analogy, football, if you will. We're going to look at those playbooks and see how that applies to you moving forward when stuff comes up. And it's great to have him back here. OpenPlaybook is what he offers, and he's Larry Dodd. He's back on the program. Hey, Larry.
Hi, Steve. Great to be here today.
Wonderful to have you back here. And resilience. That's kind of what we're talking about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think a lot of our success depends on our ability to move through challenges. And without a challenge, what will we really accomplish?
It's so true when you look at it. If life was this, all right, it's all right, no complaints.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't feel the pain, if you will, or challenge, how do you know what the good stuff is? Because you have nothing to compare it to.
That's true. It's amazing what people are capable of doing. And it's also sad how often we don't aspire to do more.
We don't know how amazingly powerful we are, right?
That's true. That's absolutely true. Challenge helps us to see that if we look at it in the right light. But it all starts with the relationship. Of course, OpenPlaybook's all about developing relationship, right? First with yourself, then with others, and then through leadership and building others. But it all starts in being able to understand that person looks back in the mirror.
How do you know that you know yourself well?
Well, I think you can always know yourself better, right? It's a journey. And so I think challenges help us see that. It helps us to see strengths that we had that we might not have been aware of. It helps us to see how we can be resilient to when we've been knocked down, right? Metaphorically knocked down. How do we get up? And what do we get up from? And how often do we get up? And do we rise above where we started? Typically, that's true for most people. Under the right type of coaching and the right perspective, we actually go farther after those bumps. So we talked a week or two ago about the fact that a lot of us look at progress as a right triangle, right? So it kind of, if it goes like this as your axis, they expect it to go like this. This is how we grow, how we get better. But that's not life. That's just not life. It just isn't. We know that success happens in setbacks and breakthroughs, setbacks and breakthroughs, setbacks and breakthroughs. And so when we think about growing, it's a game of moments, capturing what the moment offers, even the setbacks, especially the setbacks.
It's been said by many that there's a lesson in everything.
Mm-hmm.
If something happens to you, and we go in the victim mode for a little while. Look, why did this happen? I got to deal with this. I can't believe this is happening to me. And of course, the cliche, and I believe it, it's happening for you, not to you,
mm-hmm.
because there's always a lesson there. There's always a lesson to take away from it. Do you feel that way?
100%. 100%. It's a choice, right? And so if you think about it, a typical Stoic mindset, to go into a Stoic way of thinking, is that we can't control everything that happens. We just can't. It's
right.
Impossible.
Yep.
And insanity is when we try to control those things we can't control. But here's what we can always control. We can control our next step. We control the meaning we attach to that event and what we decide to do with it to take wherever that next step might or can lead. that is always in our control. So it's how we choose to look at it. And is it okay to be in the doldrums? And yeah, that's being human. But we work our way through that. And we work our way through it by choosing to say, what can I learn? What can I learn from this? And how can I be better?
Would you say that every time something presents itself in a challenge, it's almost like a breadcrumb. And if you look, I learned that. Wow. And it's step to the next ascension to move your life forward. We don't see it that way when it's happening.
No, it's a lot of times we're in the middle of whatever crisis challenges is happening. And it's almost like a fog, right? It's like a fog that we're just trying to take that next step. We're just trying to get through that. But when we know that there's something bigger behind it that we can build upon, that we can grow upon, it's like stair steps, little ones, sometimes big ones, setbacks and breakthroughs. And there's something to be learned from each. Often the setbacks teach us way more than our victories or accomplishments do.
I remember a bunch of years ago, I left a job after many years. It was my second job. And I was in high school when I got the job. And it was big. It super successful, proud of it, good run. It was just time to leave.
Yep.
And we had talked about that previously when you just know when it's time to go, or you just know. And after I left, I'll never forget, I was by my patio sliding door and I was just having a moment, and I was on the phone with somebody that I'm connected to and was much more connected to back then, somebody very spiritual. And I'll never forget these words. He said, when you're at your lowest point, and it was my decision, I was getting severance. It was all good. There wasn't anything really wrong with it, but what am I going to do next? I got a baby on the way. What am I going to do?
Right.
He said, when you're at your lowest point, that is when you're most humble. And now, I look back on that, and as we talk, that's when we're to receive all the information and assess it. Because now it's almost like, you got an open wound. So now the medicine can go in, if you will. Yeah.
I think it's a great analogy, but it's all about being humble, right? When we're on top of the world, it's easy to think that it's about us. That we did this, we accomplished this, and we did our part. But often, most of the time, other people had a big say and a big part in helping us to accomplish whatever we accomplished. And it's in those low moments when we're taught to be humble. And we're taught to step back and realize that it isn't just about me. No matter what we think it is, it's not just about me. And when we can get in that space, that mental space, we're much more likely to be open to trying new things. And it's those new things that take us up. It's those new relationships often that lead us forward. And we repeat the process. You only lose when you quit.
Everybody should write that down on a Post-it note and put it in front of them on their dashboard, at their desk, all of that. There's a sign in the gym that says the only bad workout is the one that didn't take place.
That's exactly right. It's the one you didn't do.
Yeah.
It's the one you didn't do. So a lot of my job, it comes, we talk about OpenPlaybook and the 3 playbooks, and that's really great. They're the how. There's a lot of what to do's that people look at in terms of using a system to approach how they manage their companies or how they manage themselves. But the how, you got to have relationship, and you got to have that strength of relationship to be able to move through this painful period, whatever that might be, and grow from it and get better from it. And so a lot of what I do is try to build that in coaching with people to where we understand one another and I understand where they're coming from. And now we can come to areas like challenge or disagreement, or empathy. I get what you're saying, but how do we turn this into a positive, or how do we move this forward? If it's an organization, what can we learn to make us better tomorrow? If it's an individual, what can we learn to make you better? How can we look at this to become better? And then playbook 3, how can you make somebody else better?
I had a little bit of a struggle when we first started talking about sharing the secret sauce with others, but now I see the benefits of helping others along the way. You've said the word relationship a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that many of us kind of lack in our relationship situation? Yeah, it's got people around us and everything, but have we really cultivated the right kinds of relationships? Have we strengthened the ones that are around us that could be beautiful? And I'm talking about all. Could be not your closest friends, but some of the other friends that are floating out there, business, all of that. Do you find that we're missing an opportunity by not having stronger relationships?
Yeah, it just passes in the night, right? Because it's in the how we approach people. If we're approaching of what we have to offer to help make people better, make a situation better, just reach out and make a person's day a little bit better. Like we talked a few weeks ago about the guy in San Francisco, the older man that was walking along, and I started saying good morning, and he wouldn't even look at me. And by the end of the day, he saw me coming, and he was the guy initiating. So it's just those little things, and we create an environment and an air around us where these things start to happen naturally, right? And you never know what connections you might make or what connections you might not make. And I don't know that it really matters if you're doing it all the time. It isn't about what's coming back to you. That will take care of itself, right? But it's about how you're functioning to connect with people. It's all about connecting with others, right? And often it's connecting with people who will never be able to help you. It's planting that tree you never get to sit under, right? Because when it's ready for shade, you're gone, right? That's life. So yeah, and you'd be surprised at some of the connections. And most of the big jobs that I've had, it's been about people making an introduction because they knew me. Not what I could do, but the fabric of who I was, right? And then it's up to me to sell it. And by the way, in that environment, it not only it's a heavier load for me to pull because I have that relationship with them that they felt strong enough to introduce me that I need to respect. I can't let them down.
You feel you have a responsibility.
100%.
Yeah. I hear from, and I've seen this over the years, lots of salespeople, account executives. There are some that are always checking in. They're in their client's face in a good way. Mm-hmm. Then there's others, and when I see their faces, and I haven't seen them in years, but they wouldn't because they were afraid of bad news.
Yeah.
Everything is firing along there. Client spends monthly. It's all good. They're afraid to pick up the phone or reach out to hear, yeah, well, I got you on the phone. You know what? I meant to say we're going to cut back, blah, blah, blah. What do you say to those people?
Well, I have a great example, actually, from my career. Sure. This woman was a recruiter. We deal with recruiters all the time, back and forth. And we had built a relationship. And over the years, we had worked together. And so when she presented me a resume of somebody to look at, I spent about 2 seconds on their resume. And I spent the phone call talking with her about the fabric of who that person is. Because I knew that the resume was close enough. I needed to know about the fabric of that person. She knew me. She knew what I was looking for. She knew the fabric of the people I was looking for. What made them up? What made them tick? What made us go faster? And she could challenge me, and she did. Sometimes rather aggressively. And she was encouraged to do it. And we're good friends then, and we were good friends now. But she didn't always agree with me, and I didn't always agree with her. And so it's like that type of a sales environment goes beyond sales, right? And she gave me this great piece of advice one time, Steve. It was fantastic. We're going through a lot of change, and she said, Larry, she said, there's a perfect job for everybody. And it made me realize that she's right. She's right. And whatever I was looking for at the time in terms of my managing my career, just because one thing didn't work out or didn't go where I thought it would, probably was the biggest blessing in the world, because that setback refocused me on something that did.
Mm-hmm.
That setback got me into Major League Baseball. That's a pretty cool gig, man. You know, but it came after a lot of pain and a lot of self-searching.
Did you feel at that time that you didn't have a tremendous amount of faith in yourself and resilience, where, let's say, that situation happened years later, where back then you're like, I can't believe it didn't work out. Now what am I going to do? Whereby, it didn't work out. On to the next. There'll be another opportunity walking through.
What can I learn? What can I do? Yeah, exactly. And in fact, that experience right before that led me to a career counselor I spent on my dime. And I still remember sitting with him. Guy's name was Bob. Walks into a small room. He's wearing jeans. He's wearing flops. He's wearing a shirt. He's a graduate student, right? And he was going to walk through my Myers-Briggs results. Now, I, on the other hand, was in beautiful suit, wingtips, perfect look for a corporate guy, right? And I was miserable. You hit the nail on the head, is I thought there was something wrong with me. And as he put the results out there, I saw there was nothing wrong. There was nothing wrong with me. My temperament was not appropriate for where I was at the time. In fact, it was 180 degrees opposite. And I built a whole career off of that.
Wow.
How sad it is that more people don't experience that.
Larry, at that moment, when you were looking at this gentleman and he was going to coach you and he's looking at strength assessment test, were you secretly thinking, man, I just want to be dressed like that dude and just, enjoy life and just do my thing, have my purpose? Did you secretly envy him at that moment?
It looked pretty good to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. And when the reveal happened and I realized, hey, man, this guy just got me a whole different perspective on my career. He put a light on the path. Nobody can walk that path with me. But I'm really okay. The fact that this profile, and we wrote in the profile, is how normal accountants look. This profile is how I look. Wow. I can combine these things and find what I'm looking for in satisfaction, motivation, excitement, fulfillment. I just need to think a little bit differently than most.
The Myers-Briggs assessment tool, is that the one with 16 personalities?
Yeah.
Have you, I don't know if this is based, I know this is a pivot, but I told you I'm in a men's group, and I was going to talk about this tonight.
Good. Let's roll. I'm
not even kidding. So you brought it up.
Yeah.
There's a website called 16 Personalities, might be even .com.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I'm just wondering if they base that off of the Myers-Briggs test.
They might. It's easy. The Myers-Briggs has been around for a very long time.
Sure.
And it's very well tested. It's been out. I think I'm a big proponent of it because it made a big pivot in my career, but not just my career, my life. Right. So you can take it online. You can take it inexpensively. It will give you your feedback. So what we used to have to do in terms of in person, you can now do online. There's a great book that really helped me called Please Understand Me. And it's written by a guy named Kiersey, if I remember right, that I've read more than once. And it allows you to look at each of the profiles. And my challenge for people is, look, whether it's Myers-Briggs, Clifton Strengths, whatever, test it, challenge it. Don't buy it. This is your life. This is your chance to learn and disagree. And at the end of the day, it's all okay. It's just one more data point, right? So you can take it online. You can do it so pretty expensively. By the way, Clifton Strengths, we can also take online.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the one I did.
Mm-hmm.
Very reasonable. I just even brought up the 16 personalities because that one is free. I don't know if Myers-Briggs is. And And of course, if you want to go deeper into the 16 personalities, once you identify yours, they'll go much deeper.
Yep.
Then it's you pay for that. And I just brought it up because I did it a few weeks ago, and it says I'm my personality. I'm the commander.
Okay, good.
Do they say that within when you did the Myers-Briggs? Do they give it names?
They may have. For me, the significance was typically accountants tend to be introverted. They tend to be sensing, right? They make their decisions on facts, and they like one option. That's a traditional way to look at accounting. So what I saw, and it pinned all the way. It was nowhere near the middle on any of them. I was an extrovert. Imagine that. I was an intuitor. I took in the world through intuition, and so on and so forth.
Larry, what you just said, I'm staring at for me. I'm not even kidding. I just brought up the results. Extroverted, 65%, intuitive, 64%, thinking 51%, judging 69%, assertive 53%.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, these tools are great. Give you the part about that I love is they give you call them celebrities or people that are notable that fit you. I think for me, I think it was Oprah, Steve Jobs. I'm like, oh, wow, they got similar traits, whatever. None of this is worth anything unless you use it correctly and somebody is there to walk the journey with you like yourself.
Yeah.
And you've come up with a formula. You put it into the 3 playbooks. Yep. I'm amazed how you've done all of this in 3 playbooks. I really am.
Well, thank you.
It's super cool. And, to me, that is, it identifies your strengths and makes it easy to work with as opposed to, you need a different playbook number 43. Right. Here, take that. Just too much to process, too much to work with. How does somebody work with you? How does that happen, Larry?
Well, we typically start with Clifton Strengths. That gives us a baseline. And then it really is setting back and thinking about the playbook you got. Are you using it? Where are you at today? Just like with Bob in that room for me, I was totally in a different place. So we start, where are you at? What's missing? What's working? How does this line up? How do the strengths feel? Do they agree? How do the ones at the bottom work? Does this make sense? Now, when we know that, we start going through the coaching basis in a little more directive fashion. What are some of the things you'd like to do? Right? And sometimes what we like to do, we think we can never do because people have told us you can't do it. And I think that's kind of tragic. We have a lot of shiny rocks we chase, but when we find that part of who we are that is authentically us, and we point it at a goal or an objective that feels right, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It only matters what we think, what we say. How committed are we? Back to problems and challenges. How much fight you got in you? How much grit you got in you? You're going to stay after it. You're going to, and course correct along the way. And so a lot of it is reflecting back with people, trying to think through building the relationship to challenge people in a way, if they're thinking might be worth thinking of it a different way. And then sharing my playbook, where I got tripped up, what I would have done different, what I did well every now and then, right? But it's really the lesson is like, here's my setback and how did I come back from it?
Well, you identified something before, and it was based on the strengths working in the accounting world. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't you.
It was not me.
No.
Right.
The introvert, the extrovert, right there. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Not a perfect fit, but I will say this: the Clifton Strengths, Myers-Briggs, all of that, whatever it is, having done it and gotten the information, and then trying to apply the information to yourself and what your goals are, is out of my wheelhouse. I'm going to be honest, and I feel for a lot of people it's the same way, where you get all this information, I don't know what to do with it. I need somebody like yourself to break it all down in bite-sized chunks and apply it to my goals, whatever somebody's goals, direction, all of that. Because I stopped.
Yep.
Because it was just too heavy for me.
Right. And we're traveling a path that, or this, if you look at this as a journey that we never traveled before, right? Shouldn't have to do that alone.
100%.
You don't have to do that alone, whether it's me or somebody else, right? That's how we get better. That's how we go farther.
And then once you attain that, as a client of yours, Playbook 3.
Playbook 3.
And then you pass it on.
Absolutely. I mean, no matter where we're at in our life, Steve, somebody's looking at us and saying, how did they get there? Yeah. The sad thing is, too often we're looking at our situation right here or our ambitions here, and we're not looking at the person who's looking to us for some guidance. And that's how progress gets made.
Beautifully said. I love your mindset. It's like you want to help, you want to give back, and fantastic. How do we give me the web? I know there's some hyphens in the web address.
www.open-playbook.com. And then you can always get me at OpenPlaybookLLC@gmail.com.
Larry, as always, great talking with you today. This is so important if somebody wants to move their life forward. And I'm not just talking professionally, just in general. In general. Yeah. Great having you on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.